Hello friends. Today I will show you how to sew oven mitts from an old unnecessary towel. Here in my everyday life, a towel was worn out and I cut it into pieces. I will cover it with a cotton towel using new rags. And on the front part one will sew a covering using the patchwork met. Hod. And together with you we will do the stitching and process it with bias tape. Here is my blue bias tape and various scraps. Sewing pieces for the front part of the pot holder. These are scraps that are left over from various tailoring of linen and all sorts of other things. I collect piece by piece in this way into a single whole canvas. So friends, I put together a whole canvas from pieces, multicolored, interesting, beautiful. And now we will cover our worn out towel with this new beautiful linen. I will lay out the towel in a 2-layer strip and sew 2 pieces of fabric onto it, one piece assembled using the patch work method and the second piece is just a piece of new fabric. After I stitch these 2 pieces of fabric, I will fold the towel in 4, and I will have a 4-layer pot holder. Of course, in the process of making pot holders I will show you everything. I'm starting to attach the back wall of the pot holder. I'll stitch straight with a stitch foot and make a labyrinth street. Itch. You can quilt as you like, either with labyrinths or diamonds or zigzags. As you want. This time I will stitch with AL. Aberranth, as I already said. And start stitching from the center, gradually moving away to the edges. The stitch can be marked and you can stitch by eye without marking. Gently hold the fabric and move gradually in the given direction. If you didn't mark the stitch and you ended up with uneven lines, it's okay. It adds some zest to some beauty. So gradually we stitched up the patch and quilted it. I had this scrap of fabric left over from sewing new bed linen. And I felt sorry to throw it away, so I decided to use it to sew my kitchen oven mitt. And now we cover the remaining part of the towel with a patchwork piece assembled in a patchwork style and sew it on in. De-quilt it in the same way. Of course, I am very pleased that I can assemble pot holders from some scraps that were left over from previous sewing, ND could have been thrown away, but I didn't throw them away. I gave them a second life as a kitchen pot holder. And on this scrap I will make a stitch in the shape of a labyrinth. I immediately remove and cut off all unnecessary threads so that the work is neat. Here I show you the process of sewing a patch on a towel. I really like this fascinating process. It helps me save some money and also make quality things for my kitchen, namely pot holders that will serve for many years and will decorate my kitchen. And I also like to do such useful recycling of fabric scraps. I like to make new things out of old unnecessary things that serve in my everyday life and using them for more than 1 year is a good quality disposal. And in the meantime, I continue to stitch my tack, and I want to tell you that the distance between the lines can be width E or it can be narrower. If the distance between the lines is wide, then the tack will be softer and more flexible. And if the distance is narrower, then it will be more rigid and elastic. Do it as you like. The main thing here is to understand what kind of pot holders you want. Elastic, dense or more elasty. C. Soft. We stitched the shreds onto the towel just as I had in mind, just as I wanted. And now I folded this towel into 4 in D. I got this irregular rectangle, not quite with straight edges and now I've brought a plate and I'm tracing a circle on this tack blank. I pinned the workpiece with needles so that nothing would move anywhere. As I said, the towel was bent into 4 layers. Or maybe these were separate 2-layer squares, and they also need to be connected with needles. And now we cut out our circle. After you and I have created the round shape of our pot holder, we will begin to trim it with blue bias tape. I apply bias tape to the back of the pot holder and begin to attach it. Starting the stitch, I put a bar tack and slightly tighten the binding when attaching it. We tighten the string so that it lays out well and the product looks neat. We get to the place where we started to attach the binding and leave a small tail. This is to make a loop on which the pot holder will be hung. I leave the tail about 5 to 7 centimeters long. After we have attached the bias tape to the back of the pot holder, we use the bias tape to wrap the edge of the pot hold onto the front of the pot holder and stitch it along the front of the pot holder, that is, along the front side. I wanted to show you the beauty of the wildflowers that are in my vase on my table. My friends, I want to show you what we got. What kind of pot holders we got. Here is the pot holder that we sewed together, and I already sewed the second one additionally, and I got such a nice shade of pot holders. I also used scraps from the lace. With such attachments it will be a pleasure to use in the kitchen. They will add comfort and beauty to my kitchen. And with this I will finish my video. Whoever liked it, like it, write comments, repost my videos and see you again. Bye. Bye.